The one that I'm going to talk about here is, should rookie quarterbacks sit in year one? I'm going to go ahead and click here. This is by me. I wrote this yesterday. But I want to show everybody one little graph. For one, notice here, these are just first-round quarterbacks since the new CBA. Draft position does correlate with how well they perform. This is the log of the approximate value of the player earned in the first 3 years that they are a starter. Notice here, though, if you do trade up for a player, that does abate, which makes sense, Tej, right? If you trade up, now draft order is a little bit uncorrelated with how good the teams are. Mm-hmm. So that makes some sense. Now, the interesting one, though, I think the money graph here is this one, which is, I think, an actual indication of, like, these teams kind of have a clue. The red line is basically going through the points where players that literally played, like, started the first game. And the x-axis, the preseason market win total, is basically how good the team was. And my thesis was the teams that are sitting can afford to sit the player because they're good. And so guys that are sitting, it's not necessarily teams choosing to sit the player. It's like they can. So they do anyway, which is kind of the case. Notice here that, like, the only red dot there of a good team playing a player right away was when the Patriots played Mac Jones right away. He had to beat out Cam Newton to do that. For the most part, the players that play right away are actually on bad teams. And the funny part is as the team gets better, the player that plays early gets worse. And to me, that's just simply the draft curve. As the pick position gets higher, the player gets worse, right? And that just means that I think NFL teams are pretty damn good at being like, this guy's ready to play. And they throw him out in the Wolves, and if he's a good, like, so those two dots up there are Cam Newton and Kyler Murray, right? Cam Newton, he came onto the Panthers. They were 0.3 of a yard worse than the next worst team with Jimmy Clausen the year before. He comes in, he's amazing. He's the MVP of the league in short order. Kyler Murray, the year before he got on the Cardinals, they were 0.4 of a yard worse than the next worst team. He's on there. He has the Cardinals to the playoffs in year 3, and it does, like, kind of monotonically go. Now, there's only 6 players that sat all of year 1. Most of those teams are pretty damn good, and the only 2 that actually had any success were Patrick Mahomes and Jordan Love. The rest, Paxton Lynch was bad. Jake Locker was bad. Trey Lance was bad. It's not actually, like, there's more bads than goods in that group. But the interesting one, Tej, is this yellow line. It's teams that try to play or try to sit their quarterback early, right? Those teams are slightly better. The average season win total for those teams is about half a win more, 6.5 wins, preseason market win total, than teams that play the guy right away, which is 6 wins. So they try to be good. And the funny part is the success of those quarterbacks is actually moderately correlated with how good that team is. Meaning, right, those teams know they should be sitting their starter. And then when he gets in there, how good he does depends upon how good. So, and I wrote about this in the article. It's Lamar Jackson comes in because Joe Flacco gets hurt versus Blake Bortles plays because the Jags are so bad that it doesn't make sense to play Chad Henne anymore.
Mm-hmm.